think I want to hear some more of that. We'll maybe save it up for later on. There we go. Frank, you should be switched in now.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're on the air down the band.
I am, yes. That's right. That's the first time I've ever heard myself on a crossband.
Yeah, there you go. I reckon. Go and have a listen to it. I'll keep this going for
No,
a bit.
no, it's all right.
Well, it's funny they're talking about Edison's and things. It was quite an interesting discussion. And, so how about that?
Yes, it was. It's funny to tune in and hear that.
Yes, you're in stereo at the moment, Frank. You're in two places at once on 40 metres.
Yeah, that's right. That's a multiple presence.
Yeah, that's it. I haven't got a reliable way of testing 40. I noticed yesterday the 40 sort of stopped working for me. And, according to the Ironstone range SDR, but I wonder if it was the SDR because everything seemed to be right here, but I wasn't sure. So I'm sort of wondering what's going on.
Huge ionospheric disturbances.
Oh, yes, that's probably what it was.
Oh, most certainly that's what it was.
Okay, is that prevailing at the moment, or is that?
No, it's eased up a lot.
Yes. Okay. So
Still not great.
Yeah, fair enough. Interesting. Well, that's probably what it is then. Yes, I do remember reading about the solar storm.
Yeah, no, the big one.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
A couple of days ago, it was at severe level, which is the next to extreme, which is the worst.
Gosh. So with extreme, do they ground planes and things like that? Do they?
Yeah, GPS goes up the spout, I think.
Wow. Gosh, that could have far-reaching consequences.
Yeah, most definitely.
Goodness me. And it makes me sort of nervous about the theatres of war and all of that sort of stuff too.
I know.
Yeah, all right. Well, look, go down and have a listen for 5 minutes.
Hey, look, it's all right. It's okay.
You sure?
Thanks anyway.
Well, I've referred the listener so you can hear Frank number 1 or Frank number 2.
Yeah, that's right. Multi-band mission.
Yes, isn't it marvellous? Keeping the airwaves warm as we do.
It is. I've been listening quite a lot. There's a lot of Tony today, which is very good.
Ah, very good. Excellent.
Tony and the egg. Having quite sensible talking Tony. Tony brought the best out in the egg, actually.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Oh, that's really good to hear. Alrighty, well, anyhow, people do have a choice, and that's a good thing. It enables us all to find our sort of platforms and self-expression and all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's lovely to hear the old, hear the branch on again. And,
totally. It's good. Yeah, all right. Well, thanks. I'm sorry to finish rather abruptly last night because we had a little bit of an
is
issue.
he okay?
Yeah, he's all right. He must have had an allergic reaction to something because his eyes were all swollen up and and his tongue was big and he couldn't breathe properly. And so I was going to take him to the hospital. But we realised we had some prednisolone in the cupboard, so we gave him that and it seemed to relieve the symptoms and he sort of... he's okay today.
We're in the middle of a course of it at the moment.
Are you really? Okay, yeah.
Powerful stuff.
It certainly is. So anyhow, I'm hoping that, we don't know what it was, what triggered it. It's some sort of reaction to something.
Yeah, God.
It's some
scary, isn't it, when something like that?
Well, that's it. But I figure that if we went into the hospital here, the symptoms weren't getting worse. They got bad to a point and they weren't getting worse, and we thought, he was struggling a bit with his breathing earlier on, but it seemed to sort of plateau.
Okay, well, all's well that ends well, as they say.
Yeah. So we checked on him this morning, but so it's been a bit of
if it comes on suddenly, it's scary, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And he burst in here and said, I can't breathe, and I thought, oh no.
I know.
So anyhow, that's all right. These things happen, but yes, I think everything's all right.
There's a thing you can get called an EpiPen.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they use for people who do have anaphylactic reactions.
Indeed.
And I think that's something that's prescribed and it has to be fully sort of tested.
Oh, totally, yeah.
You
can't just go and buy one.
No, you can't get one off the shelf. But I have to do, part of my compliance at work is to learn how to administer the EpiPens.
Oh, right.
And because,
of course, in your situation.
Yeah, it can happen any time. And there are a lot more kids with allergic reactions now. So you have to be aware of and the different types of pens and their attributes. And there's an interesting situation. We have to actually, when you do your training, you have to actually give the pen. You have to administer with a dummy pen to a colleague. There's no needle involved, but you have to go through the motions of pressing it into their thigh and stuff.
Yes.
And And but originally, when we first started doing this, we'd self-administer. You just put it on your knee and just go through the motions, and they see you do it, and they think it's fine. But now, what happened? There was a terrible situation where someone died because the administrator of the pen was so rehearsed in administering themselves in rehearsal that when it came to the emergency, they accidentally administered it to themselves.
Oh, no!
Yeah, so it's a one dose situation, and it happened, and someone died as a result.
Oh dear God, no!
What a terrible thing.
Oh.
So ever since then, there is because people just go on automatic reaction when you're in a crisis like that.
Was that at your school? Or
No. That was it's just in the literature. It happened
just in the literature. Yeah,
it happened somewhere in Australia.
How would you feel?
Oh, terrible. I mean, it would just change your life. I mean, how could you cope with something like that?
I know.
So yeah,
that's most interesting, Steve.
It's a situation. So anyhow, we're wondering now if Will's got something else, but poor fellow, he's got lots of autoimmune problems, and it looks like he might have to pull out of his footy season again because he's got issues.
Oh, he'll be sorry about that.
Oh, he'll be devastated if that's the case. But his hands blow up like sausages, and we're not really sure what's going on. They've done lots and lots and lots of tests, and it's something very strange. He's got some autoimmune issue which they can't work out yet.
Sure.
So poor fellow, he's up against it a bit.
Allergies are really a problem, aren't they?
Yeah. It's crazy because his hands just blow up. They blow like a huge set of gloves, and you can't move his fingers at all. And the slightest movement's painful.
My God.
Yeah, it's really full on. It's a horrible thing. And joints start to swell up, and all this weird stuff happens.
They can't get to the bottom of it.
No, they've done multiple tests, and it seems fine in some situations, and they can't capture it in its presentation because it goes down when you go in to have it looked at. So we end up taking photos, and we've got like a folio of pictures of it and stuff like that.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just ongoing, and he's got a team, I think, of 4 neurologists working on his case.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. It's one of those things I probably shouldn't be talking about his
probably
on the air. But it's one of those things that you have to endure. Yeah, so anyhow, it looks like we've got 40 metres. Yes, it does look like it's getting through, and you're right. I'm sure it was just the atmospherics yesterday.
It was very severe. It's been severe for about 4 days, really.
Right, okay, interesting.
It's getting better now.
Yeah.
We went through a period of no storms, and now they're predicting one minor geomagnetic.
Okay. Yeah.
In latest WWV.
So how much warning do they have? They have days, don't they?
It depends on, the days for geomagnetic storm activity usually, but you get solar radiation storms that can come out of the blue, I think.
Okay, it's interesting.
So there's solar radiation, there's geomagnetic, and there's another sort of thing you can have that is upsetting.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I believe I know that the coffee break net. There's sometimes the circular goes around with information about the geomagnetic storms.
Yeah, you can get them on WWV.
Yeah. I think Mr. Cage said used to send around things, it's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well. Suppose we'll sharpen up a few needles. They're talking about Edison's down the band, and I thought I'd bring the Edison out and play a few more cylinders today. It's just for fun. I'm keen to sort of do this more. In one of my moments of procrastination, while I actually spent nearly all the day correcting today. I got up early, and I've been at it until a few minutes ago, and I've still got more to do. But I did have a couple of breaks, and then during one of them I was reading about using a little piezoelectric membrane to like a buzzer element, and people have had reasonable success using those for pickups for Edison machines and such. So
where do you get them?
Well, you can buy. I've got quite a few of them here. You can get them at Hamfests and electronic shops. They're little buzzers, and you can use them for I think you can use them for musical instrument contacts. They can pick the vibrations causes an electrical current. And they're quite high output. You've got to put a high resistance. You've got to put a meg resistor in.
Amp them down.
Yeah, but look, they can work very well, and I have experimented a bit with that type of thing. But I'm keen to sort of it's another frontier for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, it's always in the name of experimentation.
Oh yeah.
Yay. All right. Well, I did enjoy that opera last night.
Yes, it's amazing. Oh, I love that sort of early Baroque stuff.
Yeah, the early Baroque.
Not so early, it's mid-Baroque.
Well, yeah, it's early-ish, isn't it? 1706, 1707, that period. It was I love the Italian influence in Baroque.
Yeah.
I really do. And it's marvellous to hear Handel writing in such an Italian style. It's fabulous. I love it. Love all that sort of wonderful, excitable, pagionic, embroidery with the violins.
That's how he started, of course.
Yeah. Because he started.
And he slipped into the sort of central Baroque, or it was really almost, he created largely an English Baroque, didn't he?
I suppose he did, in a sense. That's right. He sort of picked up Purcell as sort of seen as the father of English Baroque.
And totally, yes, totally.
And then he sort of took over the mantle. He and who was the English Bach? Johann Christian, was it? One of them.
Was it CP? No, it was Johann Christian, I think.
It might be. I'm not sure. Yeah, so one of the Bachs lived in London, and I think they might have been known to each other. But yeah, a bit of an establishment.
But he did it. The thing was, he did it better than anyone else.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
totally amazing. Yeah, he was. He was just so great. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about Handel. I'm sort of feeling a bit inspired. I was listening to a review of his Concerto Grossi the other day, and they are in that era, that earlier period.
They certainly are.
And there's a whole series of them, and I played a few of them, and some of the organ concertos, but they're just delightful.
They are, everyone.
Yeah, it's so accessible. It's marvellous music.
Lovely keyboard suites too.
Yeah, he did. That's true. Yeah, we could feature those. I'd like to hear them on the piano. So yeah, we could do that. Yeah, have a listen to it. Any more bring on the Handel, I reckon.
I reckon so.
All right, here we go. 20s hit is 1929, I think. It's Jack Hilton, so it's English, and a recording from the film The Broadway Melody from the motion picture, and it's A Wedding of the Painted Doll. Big hit.
Oh yes. Remember it well.
Yeah.
I think I had it on a wind-up gramophone.
Oh, you did? Yeah, it seems one of those records that sort of crops up everywhere. You sort of see various versions of Wedding of a Painted Doll.
I think they sold a lot of them.
I reckon it was a big hit.
Yeah.
So I'll just quickly cue this one up.
Cute.
So here we go. In sync, should we write to zip?
It's a holiday, today's the wedding of the painted doll. It's a jolly day, the news is spreading all around the hall. Red Riding Hood and Buster Brown, the jumping jack, jump into town. From far and near, they're coming here. Church bells ringing, ringing, all the little dollies from the pollies with their painted cheeks. Little Mama Doll has passed around for weeks and weeks. Shoe the blues, no time to lose. Rise and shoes will spread the news that it's a holiday. Today's the wedding of the little painted doll.
so slick. It was one of the most highly calibrated, energetic, commercial sounding bands from Britain in that period, the Jack Hilton Orchestra. They always sounded good. Big sound,
Yeah.
and really identifiable. They had a signature sound, really, with a very penetrating brass and solid arrangements and just excellent musicality. They weren't really a jazz inspired, more of a syncopated group, but they're an outstanding band. I sort of grew up with them because as a kid, Mr. Fleming will be interested in this. Next to my bed, I had a Ferrograph Series 3 reel-to-reel, care of Mr. Knight. He gave it to me when I was a kid at 3CR, and I dragged the damn thing home all the way from Brighton Street, Richmond, on the train.
Oh, boy.
And it weighs about 20 kilograms.
I can imagine.
It's heavy as lead, more. They're heavy as lead. And anyhow, I took it home. My parents picked me up at the station, and the car scraped against the ground driving home with this heavy thing. And I had it next to my bed, this big clunky machine. They're magnificent machines. And one of the tapes I had was a tape full of Jack Hilton faves from the 20s. And I used to play it over and over and over again. I used to love it. I had an old pedal harmonium, and the Ferrograph used to sit on top of that. Next to my bed. It was great. Had a big meter on the front, and it was a fabulous machine. So yeah, I listened to a lot of Jack Hilton, and I just really grew to love the sound of the band. And I'll play a couple because Mr. Prozoot some time ago put up some historic English recordings and did a marvelous job remastering them. And it's really good to hear. I'll play just a couple. From his archive. I've got them here ready to go. So we'll check in with a track called Baby, followed by Turn on the Heat. So let's hear a couple from Jack Hilton's band, all from 1929 when that last record was made.
Babies are ruined to me. Maybe I wouldn't tell, maybe I couldn't tell what that baby's doing to me. Still losing all my will, sentimental things fill my mind. Gee, when he kisses me, I'll agree they're far from refined. I crave the touch of him, can't get too much of him, big, strong, fine baby of mine.
It'd be good to hear the next song too. It's called Doing the New Lowdown, and it's an Ellington hit.
Oh, 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 oh. What da ba ba da 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 da. Ba 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 da da ba 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 ba. Whoop. Da 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 da. What di da 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 no no be da 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 no. Da 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 ba ba da 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 da.
Yeah, there we go. That was the music of Jack Hilton and his orchestra, recorded in London back in the late 20s, 1929, I think those records were issued. And yeah, it's quite a lot there. There's sort of 60 minutes of them there, all courtesy of Prozoot.
It's very good quality, aren't they?
He does amazing things with them. He's just able to bring the life out of the music. It's really good. I'm keeping this on standby because at any moment, any time, Olivia's going to pop in and she needs me because... she's chopping up vegetables. We've got 10 big carrots to chop up, and then we've got to boil them, and then we've got to blanch them, which means put them in icy cold water. So I've got that ready to go, and that's a part of our preparation for the food drops.
Yeah.
So we've got to be doing food drying every day for the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
So we've got a batch ready, and this is our first one. So I'm just going on memory from when I used to do it years ago. And it's quite a process. So, I just want to help her with the blanching side of it, the bob and blanch.
Yeah.
And we'll just put the vegetables into the ice tub and then put them into the food dryer. So that'll take me about 10 minutes. So at that point, I will just jump on and play a little bit of. I'll keep this playlist up here.
Sure.
But in the interim, look, I'll play one more because I'd forgotten that they did a version of Tiger Rag. It's interesting to hear the English play American music. It's so clipped and it doesn't swing, but it's precise and powerful in a different way. It's like same with Ambrose's music often. Yeah. It just has its own sort of way of connecting with the American tradition, but it's certainly not nothing like what we hear with the black bands.
It's interesting how much nuance there is there, isn't it, really?
It's so subtle because the level of musicianship in these English recordings is really high.
Oh, totally high. I mean, they're as good as the American musos, but they haven't got the feeling.
Yeah, exactly. There's a certain sort of weight, and there's something it's sort of imperceptible, really.
I think it comes very largely from black Americans.
Yes, and I think it's that comment of Fat Swallow. If they asked him what's swing, and he says, "If I have to tell you, I could." What was the comment? He could if I could never tell you because you'd never know, or something like that.
It was if you don't know, you no good asking. You know?
Yeah, exactly. The comments to that effect. So
which is true.
Yeah, totally. I think it's just one of those things you can't describe. It's the feel. It's like listening to those great blues singers. There's a certain weight and there's a certain sort of connection, vibe, authenticity, something deep. And it's the same as hearing some of those great fiddle players as well. They connect with they connect with the tradition, with the cultural milieu. They're immersed in something that's not globalized.
That Viennese lilt.
Yes, we heard that so much with Kreiser last night, and that wonderful elfin quality of Thibaut. And you hear these musicians that are connected to a particular tradition. And that's so fascinating, but it's hard to replicate. I just don't think when you hear people now, we're so sort of immersed in international styles of playing that some of that's lost, I think. But I'm
afraid it is.
I think it's just inevitable. It just has to be.
I think it's even happening with accents a bit.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yeah, absolutely, it is. Yeah, so often. I mean. That's another question. Another fascinating study is this the vernacular, and the accents. I know when Chris was doing all those Rome cylinders, there was a set of cylinders found in Warrnambool of a fair in Warrnambool in, I think, the late 1890s. It's the earliest recordings of the Australian accent, anyhow.
Oh, really?
And he transferred them when he worked at the National Film Sound Archive years ago.
Yeah.
And sadly, he wasn't credited with the work he did, but that's another story.
Oh.
But he was very involved with the translation of those cylinders. But they're fascinating because they're sort of, the Australian accent's quite Irish.
Yeah, well, there you are, you see.
And see, nearly everyone would have been a new immigrant in the 1890s when
That's
you think
right.
about it. It's quite fascinating, isn't it? There would have been such it wouldn't have been the Australian accent as we know it today. I think that sort of perhaps formed later. I don't know. Yeah, it's a really interesting point. We should feature those, get a hold of some of those recordings and have a listen to them.
And of course, within Australia, there are state accents.
Yes, there are, definitely. Yeah.
I can pick South Australian accents usually.
Yeah, we can too. And Kate's South Australian.
Of course she is, yes, I can tell.
And there's a little bit of Britishness there.
There is a little bit of British.
Yeah, and Queensland's flat as a tack.
Oh, flat as a tack. New South Wales is a bit brassy.
Yes, that's true. It is. That's so. And it's interesting listening to the Australian accents from the earlier period as well. And from the 30s and 40s, and from that sort of intermediate period, wartime era, and you get this real flatness in some circles as well, and then you get the people who went to elocution and had to speak the Queen's English.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
The ABC's kind of reflected this change too, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Going from the John Chance era.
Yes, that's right.
James Dibble.
Yeah. And now we just sort of have just natural colloquialism. Nothing's affected anymore.
No.
It's really interesting. But there's a diphthong that comes with a lot of particularly with the Mediterranean languages. You can hear a lot of that in Melbourne.
Certainly can.
And with I notice a lot of kids I teach, a lot of Asian kids, they've just got straight out American accents.
Yeah, a lot of Filipinos are American.
Yeah, it's just because I think mostly the social media they listen to is American, and that's what they respond to. That's what they connect with.
Yeah.
So, and their parents are mother tongue, so they're multilingual. So the English they hear recreationally is it's amazing. It's American English. So, fascinating.
Certainly is.
Yeah, so it's all happening. How are you with American accents? Can you tell where they are, or do you have a...
Can do south from north, of course.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Yes.
Less good with within the regions. I don't do so.
Yeah.
I can pick Canadians by their OU sound.
Yes, definitely.
The oats and the
Yes.
the Scottish influence. I think.
So that's Scottish, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not French. I was wondering if there was that.
There's French on the east coast, of course.
There is. Yeah.
And that's pickable too, to a degree.
Yeah.
It's a softer.
Yes.
It's a softer accent.
Yeah, definitely. Oh.
I love these French Canadian.
French Canadian it's beautiful to listen to.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, their singers are lovely.
Yeah.
The one called Giselle Mackenzie I really like.
Oh, Giselle Mackenzie. I'm writing it down as we speak. Giselle Mackenzie. Okay, well, we'll see if we can find something. All right, okay. Well, we'll just say while we're sort of riffing on Jack Hilton and the band, while it's up here, because I'm sort of half expecting Olivia to jump in. I want to play a couple of Edisons later on too. Here we go.
I'm vk3sl in contact with vk3sl crossband duplex 2 meters to 160 meters.
Indeed, that's the announcement. And of course, if you're on 2 meters, you won't hear me. But just as a general qualifier, we are working on 160. That's on 1865 kilohertz, and also on 40 meters. 40 meters seems to be awake, and that's on 7.285, and of course UHF as well. That's 438.725. There we go.
Very good.
All happening. All right, let's hear Tiger Rag.
I'm on 104.0. I'm 145.04.
That's correct. Absolutely. Indeed. That's the input. Yes. All right, let's have a listen now to Tiger Rag with Jack Hilton and the band. Oh my God, that is so British. It's so British. It's so perfect. It's pretty. And
Pretty, yes. It's they just need to relax a bit, don't they?
yeah, they just sort of need to chill. But it's a part of the British wanting to please. I mean, British make their symphony orchestras are second to none because they're so. Well, I mean, I think now orchestras are all international, but traditionally the British orchestras were very great because there's a sort of Englishness about wanting to please and wanting to accommodate everyone and being very people-pleasing, happy and all that sort of
It's a
thing.
bit stiff upper lip, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's sort of just being there, but deep inside there might be a bit of passive-aggressive, but it doesn't, something. But yeah, but that just absolutely was British perfect in that sense, which I think is so interesting. Yeah, so there's another recording on this list here of Making Whoopee, which I wouldn't mind sampling. I haven't listened to these for ages. They used to all be on my Ferrograph tape.
Yeah.
Here we go. Making it, but nothing like this quality of the
It
sound.
was Eddie Cadder's big song, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed it was. Absolutely. I'm interested to hear what the British did with this. Because the Americans had the Hays Code, and that sort of shut down a lot of double entendres and such.
Yeah.
And but the British sort of kept on with it a little bit longer. But I think this is all before that. This is 1929. So, but look, let's check in. Let's have a listen to Making Whoopee, and this is the last in that series of recordings that of about 30 recordings made in 1929 by the Jack Hilton Orchestra in London.
Another sunny honeymoon, another season, another reason for making whoopee. A lot of shoes, a lot of rice. The groom is nervous, he answers twice. It's really killing that he's so willing to make whoopee. Picture a little love nest down where the roses cling. Picture the same sweet love nest. Think what a year can bring. He's washing dishes and baby clothes. He's so ambitious, he even sews. But don't forget, folks, that's what you get, folks, for making whoopee.
Yes, fabulous. Wonderful arrangement.
Yeah.
Full of spice, full of interest, full of intricacy. It's sort of like hyper intricate, really.
It was a bit.
Yeah, it's got lots of sort of textural stuff and filigree and all of it. It's very pretty. But I love it for the reasons that different reasons, really.
Oh, sure, it's very valid in its own right.
Yes, it is, and it's a part of a tradition, and it's so quintessentially British.
But you know what it lacked, and I think this is very largely at the heart of it all. They didn't have a Bix, or they didn't have an Armstrong,
Yeah.
or they didn't have a Julie Roll Morton.
Yes, you're right.
To show them how to do that.
Exactly. I think you're spot on there. I think that's a very big part of the equation. When you've got a few hot soloists, that's why groups like Roger Wolf Kahn's orchestra did so well, because they had a young Artie Shaw and they had Miff Mole and they
There
had
you are.
Eddie Lang and Joe Venuti, and
That's all it takes.
it just takes a few hot soloists and it just brings everyone into the fold. Everyone feels like they can relax because they've got that sort of, that quality.
They set the mood.
Yeah, totally. I get it. Yeah, I think that's what it takes. I mean, you certainly get that with Ambrose because they had hot players, and later on it sort of all changed.
I did.
But in this early era, it was sort of trying to. I mean, people realised that American music was the big kid on the block. It was fantastic. It was out there. It was accessible, and everyone loved it. And you hear the same thing in Berlin with all those bands from the Weimar Republic. They just don't swing, but they play really, really well.
Sure.
It's so interesting. It's fabulous.
I mean, there was no English blues scene as far as I know.
And that's a really interesting point. Yeah, I need to research that and see if there's anyone who... I don't think there was, because it was probably seen as a bit taboo. It was sort of a stylized... I think when you embraced, a form like that, it had to be in a very stylized way. So it may be sort of displaced. I don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah, that's worth investigating. Yeah, interesting. All right, we'll keep that on the virtual turntable in case.
It's very interesting, though, isn't it?
It is. It's fascinating. And until I'm called out, I'll be called out fairly soon because I know I've got to help with this process. All right, I've got an Edison cylinder. I've got my phonograph here wound up, ready to zip. Oh, here we go. Livia's in here.
Oh, good.
So I will go back to Jack Hilton. I'll just jump in the middle somewhere, and I'll be out for about 10 minutes or so.
No worries.
And then we'll play a couple of a few cylinders. So, okay, listeners, back soon. Thanks, Frank. We'll catch you on the next round. Won't be long.
or you'd have come to me. My oh me oh my, no investigator ever made a greater discovery. I cannot tell you what excitement that night meant when I met you, and what wrong or right meant our hearts only knew. I was low, now I'm high, high upon a steeple, telling all the people you've come to me. hug and hold, but nobody's using them now. I've loads of love that could be told, but nobody's using it now. I've a world of time that's all my own. They say that you go silly if you spend it alone. I'm telling the truth, I'm just wasting my youth, 'cause nobody's using it. No, 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 nobody's using it now. If I had a talking picture of you, I would run it every time I felt blue. I would sit there in the gloom of my lonely little room and applaud each time you whispered, I love you, on the screen the moment you came in view. We would talk the whole thing over, we two. I would give 10 shows a day and a midnight matinee if I had a talking picture of you.
bubble and sweet, scallop the Bobby-do. Though no one else can hold a candle, but what a precious thing to handle. I wish you that way, lovable bubble and sweet.
Great stuff, this bat.
What night, light sky, the bluer to lure your heart. What lips, that grips, the redder the better you like from the start. Hey, did you want an angel near you? I'll holler out and she will hear you. Oh, is she that way, lovable bubble and sweet?
Okay, we're back on board. Yes, back it. And you've been hearing a selection of Jack Hilton's orchestra, and all recorded in 1929 in London. Very commercial outfit. They had a big band with a big salary and big dynamics. It was sort of like the Paul Whiteman without the hot soloists.
Did he play in a hotel?
I think he might have. I think there was
Or something like that.
Yes, one of the, wasn't he? He wasn't at the Savoy, but he was at one. I think he did have residencies, but he was sort of like a big broadcast band. It was. He was. There's a bit of a story there. He was usurped at one point. I think his style became quite passé quickly.
Yeah.
As the hot band sort of took over. There was a number of American musicians came out in the late 20s, and Fred Elizalde brought them out.
Oh, yeah, he was a great man.
Yes, he was. He was amazing. And, he brought out people like Adrian Rollini and even Max Goldberg, the trumpet player.
Oh, he was ubiquitous, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He was always there. And he was Canadian. And a number of other American musicians sort of had residencies in London, and that was sort of more under the umbrella of Elizalde and the more progressive mob.
Yeah.
And that sort of changed the tide a bit. And I think Jack Hilton's was sort of freezed out, frozen out a little bit, which is sort of, you can see how that might happen as people were yearning for something that's more progressive and more modern, and as tastes became more universal.
Yep.
But an interesting dynamic. But it's good to hear those recordings. And it's
yeah.
So thank you for your indulgence. We've got the food dryer now humming away, and we've done our Bob and Blanche, and we put got the ice water bucket. And it's a bit of a process because you've got to arrest it's quite a, you can only cook them for so long because you don't want them to get too soft and lose all the goodness.
Yes, you don't want that.
No, so you've got to get them just a slightly, just a little bit chewy, a bit compliant, and then
I like veggies like that.
Yeah, likewise, I do too. And then you just immediately immerse them into this ice bath, and then it arrests the process, and then you place them, and there's about 6 trays, and this thing will now go for about 10, 12 hours, and it'll just slowly dry them out, and then we put them into Ziploc bags. We've got about 70 Ziploc bags, and that'll form the basis of supposedly the healthy component of some meals. So
got some energy food.
Yeah, we'll have to do all that too. We have to bring stuff, but we've got to be very mindful of what we can carry. And,
of course.
So yeah, we'll probably bring things like muesli bars or muesli. We'll try and find things that are sort of their not too much processed food.
So that's a good idea.
It tends to work well, and you can make meals with a base of polenta and rice, or you've got to actually dry the rice.
Yeah.
And couscous is a really good base.
Okay, I like couscous.
Yeah, it's really good. It's great for bushwalking, and then you can use things like Indian curries to give sort of spice and.
Nice.
Yeah, that's and that sort of stuff doesn't weigh too much, and you can just sort of bulk up on all of that. And but lots of dried veggies is the way to go. And I'll be taking some. Livy's vegetarian, so she'll have some special mince that's vegetarian mince, and I might take that. Yeah, they're good, and I might get some beef jerky and stuff like that, and which I can cut up and put in as well. But there's a lot of micro organising to do, and I'm a bit nervous because I'm so in the midst of reports and school stuff, and trying to sort of get an imagination for this walk is not the easiest thing.
No, I can well imagine.
Yeah, anyhow.
Have you ever had biltong?
Biltong? Don't know about biltong. Tell me.
Biltong is African sort of dried meat.
Okay, biltong.
Very concentrated. Interesting.
Biltong.
It's quite hard, actually.
Okay, it sounds a little bit like...
I'm not sure whether you're supposed to reconstitute it, but
yeah,
it's a bit of an acquired taste. It's interesting to try some.
Okay, biltong.
Biltong.
Biltong. Okay.
I'm not sure how you spell it.
Yeah.
You'll soon find it off.
No, I'm sure.
It might be something you could perhaps look at.
Thank you for that. I will definitely have a look. Interested to try things.
It's very Afrikaans.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I know that a lot of the Asian stores and Indian stores have they have things like pork floss and chicken sort of wafers and sort of all sorts of processed meat things, but I haven't had a lot of success with them. I remember I think it was the Bibbulmun track, one of the long walks we did. We tried a whole lot of those things, and the pork floss didn't go down too well.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's
a question of how well they stand up to being sort of knocked around a bit or had later than you buy them.
Yeah, well, they're all dried, but the thing is, I think a lot of them are supposed to be marinated. And, marination is not an option when you, especially with seafood stuff. But look, that won't be such an issue for this walk because we're not taking, because it'll be mostly vegetarian. But I'm just going to be sure to have lots of veggies.
Yeah.
And that'll probably do the trick.
Excellent.
But yeah, and chickpeas and stuff. We'll try a lot of those.
Chickpeas are excellent,
Yeah.
I like chickpeas.
Yeah, they're good. Alrighty, so we are back in motion, and I've got the cylinder play here and a Amberol cylinder from about 1911, and it is Old Comrades, the US Marine Band.
Oh, right.
Yeah, this is pretty early. It's a 1000 series cylinder.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're going to give it a go. I'll place it on. I'm playing these cylinders barefoot. I'm actually playing them through the horn, and I have used other means to do it, but it's very finicky, and I want to refine the process more with electrical pickup because I've noticed that it does a little bit of damage to the cylinders. So I'm going to restrain from using electrical pickup until I've got a better system. I'm having a conversation with Mr. Long at some stage about that because he's got some accessories that he might be able to lend me.
Good.
But anyhow, we are getting organised. I've got the funnel on. I've got the Edison Standard Phonograph Model B from November. I know that I've got the date that this came out of the factory in November 1907, this machine. So I've actually got a date stamp on that. And I've got my own made-up horn. I'm using the bell from a radio horn. So there we go. I've got that in place. And I've switched it on. We are now... It's quite heavy, but I think it'll work. Let me find the beginning.
Yes.
Here we go. I'll take a moment. Yeah, we got there, Frank. We got there. We made it. Whoa, whoops.
Very,
Yeah, here we go.
very good. Yes, it sounded good too.
Yeah, it sounded all right. It's it's completely acoustic from top to tail, but yeah, brass band music from the day, and of course that's the sort of thing that people listen to. I quite enjoy hearing band recordings more than parlour tenors.
Oh, totally. Totally, Steve.
Yes.
Totally.
It's interesting that online, the cylinders that go for lots of money are often sort of parlour tenors of note.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They don't really interest me.
Richard Tauber and people like that.
Well, yes, and I don't know if Tauber made cylinders, but there's a lot of John Stanley and look, that's fine. It's sort
Tauber was a bit later.
yes, he was a bit later. But look, there's a lot of people who are sort of in. See, Edison was a little bit like dare I say, the Elon Musk of his. A lot of people were sort of in his cahoots.
Yes.
And they got gigs, and they weren't terribly good musicians, but they got gigs because they were there and they got the Edison stamp of approval, and you like their style.
Yeah.
And so I just think a lot of the soloists are a bit average, but there's some great instrumentalists recorded, and they do tend to be very collectible. But some of the comedians are fun, and. But I just like hearing a good brass band. I just think they sound
live.
Yeah, it sounds live, and it sounds just out there, and they're throwing caution to the wind. This was their moment, and I'll play just one more.
Remember we used to hear the salvos going by on a Sunday?
I know, I miss that, Frank.
Same.
I do miss that. Oh yes, the salvos. They were an institution. I mean, well, they still are an institution. They have a great band, but. I've often thought when I retire, I'll pick up the trombone again and or the euphonium and join a brass band, because I think it'd be a great thing to be involved with.
It'd be really good.
Yeah, I just really like the sound of bands, and just there's an incredibly rich tradition and of brass bands, and a number of my work colleagues, they do that all weekend. That's their life.
Oh yeah.
And they're really involved with the brass band scene. And the scene is immense. It's huge. It's a big institution with lots of parades and lots of competitions and gradings, and thousands of people are involved still.
Yeah.
And it fascinates me no end. It's really,
Britain, of course, it's huge.
Yes, in Britain, yes, absolutely.
Fourth Colliery Band.
Yes, indeed.
They are world. I mean, they're as good as brass bands ever get.
Yes, indeed, absolutely. I do like hearing these older bands because there's a lot of instruments which are sort of extinct now. The intonation's different, the bore's different. It's hard to tell with these primitive recordings, but yeah, it is sort of a sound of another era, very much, because the brass bands now have a very different. They're sort of there are contemporary post-war American styles that prevail.
Okay.
And this stuff is just so ancient, I mean, when you think about it, most of the musicians performing here would have been born in the 19th century. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You think about that. So, look, this one's called Ballet Russe No. 5, March Russe, and the NW Band. I don't know who the NW, it'll be the Navy Band or something.
Yeah.
But, another Amberol. And the fellow I've been getting these from, I get them for $4 each.
Oh.
So it's a good price, really. And and the chap is in South Australia, and he knows that I like the earlier Amberols are directly recorded, and their quality is quite good. The later ones are not so good.
Okay.
And because they panographically transcribe. Once Edison realised that the cylinder market was dead, he just transcribed them off Edison diamond discs. and so the quality went down a notch.
Yeah.
And of course there was a commercial imperative too, because he wanted his discs to sound better than the cylinders, whereas natively cylinders will sound better than discs always, because you don't get groove distortion, and you get at their best, cylinders can sound absolutely astonishing. And I know Mr. Stew did these amazing experiments with cylinders from the turn of the century, stuff that's in the public domain from the University of Colorado, one of the universities in America, from their archive, and he was able to re-equalize them, put mega bass in, and they sound tremendous. They sound really good.
Right.
And of course, all the incredible work that Mr. L's done with cylinders over the years. It's been his thing.
Yeah.
And has yielded fabulous results. So, yes, cylinders can be quite astonishing. But we're just using it in a very agricultural sort of fashion here. But, yep, wound up the the phonograph, I should say. Whoops, just dropped the horn. Put that back in place. And we'll hear this Much Rus number 5. So we'll give it a go. See if we can get... It's hard to cue them, though. It's hard to know where the start is.
Okay, well, you've got to start at the beginning and let it play.
Yes, you do, and it's just hard to know. Here we go.
Doesn't matter anyway.
I think I'm ready to go. Well, that was very rhapsodic.
Well, it certainly was.
Yeah, we certainly got the... Whoops, I'll just get this horn off. Whoops. I've got to get this funnel situation sorted out. I've got two ideas for funnels. One is to get a... I've been in touch with a brass repairer,
Yeah.
and I've asked to get a... see if I can pick up very cheaply a French horn flare that's been broken, so I can integrate that with the funnel.
Yeah.
Although that would work ideally because it's dense material, being brass. But
The right curve on it.
yes, got the right curve, and it works very well. I've tried it with Henry's,
Yeah.
and it works really well actually, but it's very heavy. And I might need a crane to support it. The other one is that they make these French horns out of plastic for kids to use. They call them P-bones, and they make trombones, trumpets, French horns, brass instruments for kids, plastic instruments for kids, with the dimensions of brass instruments, and they're really good utility instruments for children to learn, and they're sort of fairly robust and such.
Yeah.
But I really like to get a broken one of those and use the horn from that, because it would be lightweight and it will be absolutely perfect for my purposes. So, and my aim is to bring one of I think I've talked about this, the aim is to bring one of these to school and keep it under my desk and just give demos to kids.
Yeah, why not?
Because something like this can change someone's life. They can see something, a mechanical marvel like one of these machines in flight, and it can sort of, not necessarily they have to go down the phonograph path, but they can get interested in vintage mechanics and have an entrant into how things sort of the cause and effect's very obvious on these machines. The gearing is it's in your face. All the gears are there, and it's very easy you can sort of see how they work. So it might inspire.
I would very, very much think it would.
Yeah,
it is inspiring, really.
Yeah, with my orchestra, I've got one of the orchestras I conduct's got over 80 people. It's a huge group. It's a massive ensemble.
Boy.
And one week I brought in a cylinder, and I said, look, I'd like to give you a chance to have a look at this. And I passed it around the group. It was just one of those indestructible amberols, and I passed it around, and the kids were absolutely fascinated.
I'll bet they were.
And they couldn't believe this toilet roll had sound on it. And
I know.
And I said to them, well, at the end of term, we'll make a special feature, and I'll bring in a machine and show you. And they were so interested. So I'd like to do quirky things like that, because it's those offbeat things that sometimes set people in motion.
Well, they interested me as a kid, that sort of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
how could you do that,
Yeah.
And you find out how you did it.
You do.
And one thing leads to another, of course.
It does. That's right. It's really about the capitulation. It's the start of the journey. It's that sort of, it could go anywhere. But just having some connection with mechanically marvelous machines of this kind is, I think, a really important experience. And if they make an interesting sound, that's a bonus.
I think so many kids start off with, curiosity that gets damped out and squashed.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't get stimulated when it needs to.
Exactly. It doesn't. And it's the Instagram generation where everything is just so virtual, and it's sort of
laid on.
It is, and it's hyper stimulating for 1 second, but you don't get to feel it. You don't get to touch it. You
just press a button. And
exactly. It's a singular sense experience.
It's such a shame.
It is. It's lost it. So I think it's really important to do something like bring in old gear, and it doesn't matter if it gets damaged, doesn't matter if it gets broken, it doesn't matter if it gets wrecked, really.
It's like we all started with crystal sets.
Yeah, totally.
Same thing.
Exactly. And you play around with it, and you stuff it up, and you wreck the crystal, and you start again, and you just have that sort of visceral connection with things. And it's a bit of as I get older, I sort of feel that we've got to try and promote this sort of thing more, because a lot of kids are very hands-on. You see, there's so much ADHD around now. There's so many kids with this restless demeanour.
I know.
Because they can't play with things anymore. You can't stuff around. You can't break things. Everything you've got to be sort of cotton wool, and you just have to treat it in a certain way. You can't just stuff around.
No scope for sort of creativity, really.
Yeah, and I just think that's such a tragedy. You've got to give people a chance to just muck around and poke their fingers and things, and just sort of see how it works, feel how it works, get a real sort of three-dimensional sense.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute mission. So, yeah, there we go. That was a bandwagon.
No. I mean, that's why we love things like Meccano.
Yeah, totally. Meccano's so good because you got to actually do up the screws. You got to put the nut on the other side, and you got to poke it through, and it misses half the time, and and you lose the screw, and you got to walk around on the floor and pick it up. It takes 10 minutes to put one screw in, but you're more connected with the whole experience because you're sort of dealing with all of those vagaries along the way.
I'm sometimes envious of engineers because that's what they do, and they're trained to do it, and they kind of get to be able to do it naturally.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they have the playing field to be able to sort of poke around and just find that when you've got a well appointed lab, you can really just go crazy.
Yeah.
And you can muck around, you can test the water, you can just work out tolerances and just sort of see what works. You can do it by feel, and often the reality is different to what's sort of in the literature.
Exactly.
So it's all that sort of finding the rhythm stuff.
Well, something will go a bit wrong,
Yeah.
and then you've got to work your way through that and find ways around things.
Totally.
Just great imagination required.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's what I feel. Because I just see so many restless kids, and I honour their restlessness. I tell them, I say, I know how it feels. I know how you, and I've got this. I'm sort of evolving with my approach to conducting groups and taking ensembles, where I'm quite upfront about my own. To a point with my own vulnerabilities and understanding of them. And the kids really connect with it.
I'm sure.
And I can have a room of 85 people in total silence because you're sort of suddenly availing yourself.
Yeah.
And you can play the room not because of any sort of, controlling ideal, but more because you really feel a sense of what's possible. And,
you've joined with them emotionally. Really.
I think so. And I tell them that because so many kids go to rehearsals and the conductors stop and start every 5 seconds, and it's so freaking exhausting and tiring when that happens. Kids just want to play through a piece, and I say to them, "Well, look." I really get that. I really get how it's so frustrating just to stop and start all the time. And there's room for stopping and starting. And I say, we're going to do that soon. At this point, we'll do that. So I sort of anticipate the fact. And then I said, but for the moment, let's play this through. But let's remember a few key things. And I prime them up. I get them to answer to the key things after I've said it. And then they remember the key things. And then they get to play a big swath of music. And they get into it. And they can get into the flow. And I remember my teacher in London years ago said that it's so much easier educationally to mould something if you've it's like a potting wheel when it's in motion rather than sort of trying to start too much.
You get a momentum going.
You do get a momentum, and so I think there's a lot in that too. So there you go, another bandwagon. Thank you for being so receptive.
Not at all.
Okay, well I've got to go inside in a minute, but look,
I better too.
Yeah, I'll wind up with some. We'll continue tomorrow. We'll have more missions tomorrow. We'll probably do something else different. I'm going to look up Giselle McKenzie. So we'll.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out.
She's just nice, I think.
Yeah, good. I've got it here on the list here. Remind me if I forget. And yeah, please do. And any other bits. So yes, Sunday missions tomorrow. I've got a extra day this weekend, which is nice, but there's a lot to do.
Oh, for Monday, of course.
Yeah. All right, so let's continue. More Jack Hilton's orchestra, just to write out the program for another bit. You might hear a track or two that's been played before, but we'll let this go. And thank you so much, Frank.
Thank you, Steve. Always great.
And thank you, listeners. Thank you for being there.
Mr. Listener, Mrs. Listener.
Yeah, that's right. They're all there.
Young listener.
Yeah,
Any listeners. We're very happy to have you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hope you're enjoying.
Yes, you're totally welcome to the fray. All right, here we go. More music from 1929.
K3J are going to listening.
And vk3sl saying cheerio for now. Until soon.
Greeted by the little robin bobbing round the new mown hay. Happiness, no more strife, you could bless such a life. I'm speaking of Kentucky days. soul so it can stand the test. No one to talk with or by myself, no one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you. I know for certain the one I love, I'm through with flirting, it's just you I'm thinking of. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you. Like Jack Horner in the corner, don't go nowhere, why do I care? Your kisses are worth waiting for, believe me. I don't stay out late, don't care to go. I'm home about 8, just me and my radio. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you. Starting to strut, wiggle and wobble and warm up the hut. Oh, 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 it's 30 below. Turn on the heat, 50 degrees. Get hot for Papa or Papa will freeze. Oh, oh, start melting the snow. If you are good, my little radiator, it's understood you'll get a gumdrop later. Turn on the heat, pour in the oil, starting to bubble, come to a boil. You put the burn off the popper and turn on the heat. world is wrong today, and men forget to smile. Money rules them, stardust, moonbeams are just June dreams, a poet's song to please a child, and all the while life just fools them. Let's forget the day, night was meant for play. Drown your sorrow while you've got the chance. Hide away your sin, neath the painted grin, hear them calling on with a dance, on with a dance. Who cares, who cares, if your heart is breaking? There isn't any soul in all the world who cares. Don't want my mammy, I don't need a friend. My heart is broken, it won't ever mend. I ain't much caring just where it will end. I must have that man. I'm like an oven that's crying for heat. He treats me awful each time that we meet. It's just unlawful how that boy can cheat, but I must have that man. His heart is Hades, a lady's not safe in his arms when she's kissed. But I'm afraid that he's cooled off, or maybe I'm rude off his list. I'll never be missed. I need that person much worse than just bad. I'm half alive and he's driving me mad. He's only human if he's to be had. I must have that man.
stupid. Take a beer.
Something is stirring.
Take an ear.
Are you referring to the stock in trade of Mr. Cupid?
Don't lose it, it's easy to say.
Just use it and show me the way.
Whisper it gently whenever the moon is above. Then you must take a girl.
Any that you send,
Take a boy.
I'm at a loose end.
Take my arm because the word is love. Take a care.
That sets me thinking.
Take an eye.
One made for winking.
Take your time. Beware of making slips, dear. Take an S.
Take it or leave it.
Take an S.
Would you believe it? Here's the word that's made for pretty lips, dear.
It may be a noun or a verb.
Oh, baby, as both it's superb.
But when you use it, the thing to remember is this. You've got to take a boy.
How will I do, dear?
Take a girl.
Can't it be you, dear?
Take me in your arms and take a
another June, another sunny honeymoon, another season, another reason for making whoopee. A lot of shoes, a lot of rice, the groom is nervous, he answers twice. It's really killing that he's so willing to make whoopee. Picture a little love nest down where the roses cling. Picture the safe, sweet love nest. Think what a year can bring. He's washing dishes and baby clothes. He's so ambitious, he even sews. But don't forget, folks, that's what you get, folks, for making whoopee.